in favor of an emerging awareness of the meaning of and the scope of liberty. What, in your view, should the Supreme Court have been in the business of upholding older traditions, as you said, of laws that criminalize same-sex relationships?
Well, Senator, those were some comments made in the course of an article about dignity and constitutional law, and of course, Lawrence is a precedent in the Supreme Court, which I would faithfully follow if I were confirmed.
Are gay relationships, in your opinion, immoral?
Senator, I'm not sure, the relevance of that to,
I think relevant your opinion. If you think African American relationships are immoral, do you think gay relationships are immoral? Do you personally believe that gay relationships?
No, I do not.
You do not believe that?
No.
Do you believe they're a sin?
Senator, my personal views on any of these subjects are things I would put to one side, and I would faithfully follow.
So you're not willing to say here that whether you believe it is sinful for two men to be married. You're not willing to comment on that?
Senator, no.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear your response.
My response is that these personal views are ones that I would put to one side. Whatever my personal views are on this subject, I would faithfully follow the precedents of the Supreme Court.
Excuse me for interrupting. I have 1 minute left. In 2013 article, you also criticized the Supreme Court's landmark decision in the United States versus Windsor, which struck down the provision of DOMA that defined marriage as only between a man and a woman. You said the court had found, quote, a novel constitutional right of two people's freedom to marry, to recognize same-sex marriages. And you said that the court's decision amounted to a political choice, not a judicial choice. What do you believe the Supreme Court's decision to respect the status of a same-sex marriage, how was that a political choice and not a judicial one?
Well, Senator, in that particular article, what I was saying is that in the case in Windsor, did not recognize same-sex marriage as a right. It only recognized the right to have your marriage recognized if the state provided such a marriage. Of course, that later step was taken in Obergefell, but Windsor, part of what I was explaining was that it was a rather empty right that was in that case.
And LGBTQ Americans have faced a long history of discrimination, long histories of violence, intimidation, bullying. Young LGBTQ youth in America report not going to school because of fear for their own safety at rates that are unconscionable. And a lot of the hard-won provisions that we're talking about became the law of the land very recently. So why is this administration currently trying to do so much to roll back transgender right protections and the like? And these matters could very much be brought before you under the regulatory conception that somehow protecting American citizens is burdensome.
Senator, I think, civil rights and equal protection of the laws are two essential values in our system. And if I were to be confirmed as a judge, I would firmly uphold that.
Have you ever had an LGBTQ law clerk?
I've not been a judge, so I don't have any law clerks.
Someone working for you.
I'm to be honest, I don't know the sexual orientation of my staff. So I take people as they come, irrespective of their race, ethnicity, sexual orientation. I treat people as individuals. Those are the values that I grew up with, and those are the values I would apply if confirmed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Senate Judiciary Committee should not be a theater for mischaracterizing or twisting nominees' records or views, nor should it be an avenue for persecution. We've seen a growing pattern among Senate Democrats of hostility to religious faith. I have to say I was deeply troubled a few minutes ago to hear questioning of a nominee asking your personal views on what is sinful. In my view, that has no business in this committee. Article 6 of the Constitution says there should be no religious test for any public office. We have also seen Senate Democrats attack what they've characterized as religious dogma. We've seen Senate Democrats attack nominees for their own personal views on salvation. I don't believe this is a theological court of inquisition. I think the proper avenue for investigation of this committee is a nominee's record. So, Ms. Rao, let me talk about your record, and let me ask you about your actual record, which is what this committee should be looking at, not our own personal religious views or your religious views, whatever they may be. You shared at your confirmation hearing your family story.